What's up, Dragon Ballers? Danny Wynn here with Joey Palladino in my beautiful Miami.
True, it's very nice.
What'd you do this weekend?
So this weekend we were playing at the PPG Miami Invitational, 111 players. I made it to top 8. Played blue-yellow Gohan. It was pretty cool. I was pretty distraught whether to play Dark Broly or blue-yellow Gohan. I chose to go with Gohan because I figured if I played everything that wasn't Dark Broly, I was very, very comfortable. Dark Broly is a bad matchup for this deck, so if I played against Dark Broly, it was not going to go so well. Ended up getting in there at, I think it was 7th place after Swiss, and then won top 16, lost in top 8, got made to look like a fool in top 8. Shout out to Jonathan Rodriguez. But no, the deck did extremely well. I made a lot of changes since last time in Connecticut, so we'll take a look at the deck. All right, so the leader once again is just like a crazy draw powerhouse. Like the leader drawing 2 on Awaken, you have ways on tap energy, so that's not a problem at all. The backside, you just bring back your skillless Higher Dragon, combo it, draw. You just loop that over and over and over again. This leader is one of the leaders that draws like the most ridiculous amounts of cards in the game, I think, at the moment. That's one of the reasons why this deck works so much. I also got to shout out Danny because he did win Team Wars with this deck as well. So this deck does actually have a first place on the weekend. That's pretty sweet. But one thing that I went over to look at his games once in a while, and he had like 3 cards in it, 4 cards in it, 5 cards in it. And I was like, that's not how the deck's supposed to be played, but he still
won with Maxberry World, the boy Russell right there.
Stussle-Relsser.
Stussle-Relsser.
All right, so we'll get into the main deck. I'll note when something has been changed. So this is the same. 4 Raiders Warcry. Again, most yellow decks don't play 4 this, particularly Mecha Frieza, because clunky on their energy. But I mean, we're pretty much playing a blue deck with like really good yellow cards. So that's like the whole goal of this deck. In 4 Raiders, you want to do it offensively and defensively. Here's a change. We bumped Bergamo up to 4. Since Connecticut, I've noticed that this card is just an absolute MVP in the deck. There are many, many ways to trigger this card. And, you know, tapping your opponent out and then using Aegis to further defend and, like, establish your board is insane. One thing I am going to mention right now is I totally cut Nimbus from the deck. It's not in the main deck. It's not in the side deck. In this build, you want to be in the combo step at all stages of the game. Like, Nimbus, yeah, it negates attack, and we do play other negates, which we'll talk about later on, but the floodgate doesn't matter because you actually want to combo/defend to either plus, like in the case of Raiders Warcry, or, you know, to even out and severely put your opponent behind. So Bergamo was a really big MVP in that. There's plenty of ways to trigger him in the deck. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, in testing, you want to see multiple every game, right?
Yeah, you want to see at least 2 every game. Again, like 3 was okay for that, but I really just wanted it in key situations, and sometimes I wasn't drawing it. So 4, and this list actually is 51 cards, whereas last time I was playing 50. This deck feels weird because you don't actually like start drawing and doing crazy stuff unless you draw your good cards. There are some clunky ways you can draw in this deck. 51 felt okay though. I just needed the deck to do the thing for this one event, and even though it was slightly less consistent, it was still really, really good.
I told you 51, man. It was the way.
It worked out. 52 was not the way, but 51,
no,
that's
51,
okay.
51.
4 Higher Dragon. This is the only Higher Dragon / skillless card we're playing in the deck. Last time I was playing the Draft Box 6 Higher Dragon, and that card was okay. I used it a few times in the tournament, but it wasn't like, you know, key or anything. It wasn't essential. It provided some good value, but I wanted to make space for other cards in the deck, and this is all we needed. You open one of these, you keep it in your mulligan. Otherwise, you know, you draw 1 by, you know, turn 3, turn 4, depending on when you awaken. As long as you draw 1, you attack the leader, take a life if you have to, awaken, draw 2, combo this guy, draw another card, bring him back with the backside effect, draw another card. It's ridiculous. And you combo him on defense, and guess what? You draw another card. It's insane. All right, so for the blue-yellow, playing 4 check land. I was thinking about cutting this to 3. I really don't like 3 check lands, but again, I wanted to conserve space. But there's a reason we're playing 4 of this. We'll get to later on. It's one of the newer changes to the deck, but it's also Aegis bait, so you can pitch it for that.
Yep.
Of course, playing 4 Zamasu super combo, you really had to... I toyed with the idea of not playing 4 of this because we are playing the hit that also allows you to combo and arrive things, but I really just wanted it for max consistency. There are definitely some times you want to draw super combos. Like if you're going for game, Zamasu's not always the best, but defensively, most decks in this format do go wide, so Zamasu does help out a lot.
Zamasu Bergamo, name a better duo.
Yeah, name a better duo than that. Good meme, good meme. Then we have 4 Violent Rush Bojack. So this card, man, like last time in Connecticut, this card was the absolute MVP. I mean, he really is the reason the deck works. He is like Xenobutton on legs. This time around though, like, you know, the deck being open and stuff, and also Mecha Frieza now playing this card. It seems like a main staple of Mecha Frieza. Now you have to worry more about your opponent answering it. So I didn't really play against Red this weekend, which I wanted to play against Red. I think that this deck in particular does quite well against King Piccolo from my experience at least. So I didn't have to deal with like concentrated destruction Goku blowing this up. but I did have to deal with Mecha Frieza, Vegeta's Final Flash in this. Yeah, it was tough. In Swiss, I played against Amani, shout out to him. I did end up winning that game, or that match rather, and you know, I was able to play around the Final Flash, but then Jonathan in top 8 just played it so differently, and that's like one of the really cool things about this meta is, you know, decks like Mecha, decks like Launch, and things like that, they have a lot of room to be built differently and even played differently. So just like the difference in play style there probably just, you know, changed the matchup completely. I definitely did mess up in game 1, but that's besides the point. So card's really good, but now you do have to watch out. There are answers to it. There are ways to interrupt it. And we play 4-hit rapid movement. You could maybe cut this to 3. We were talking about that, but I really just want to bring Bojack out. Usually turn 2. So I want to have a way to combo and get him on. I don't want to pay 1 to I can do it, but I don't want to pay 1 to bring this guy out. By comboing, I mean I want to combo something for free and then bring him out. That's definitely amazing.
It works with the other card we'll look at, and you don't want a Zamasu super combo into Bojack.
Exactly, especially if you have to do it offensively. If you have to do it offensively, you'd rather always just do this. Then we have 3 Goku hits. This is another change. Last time we were playing 4 copies of this. I'm playing a new blue-yellow card, which we'll talk about in a second. But this is, you know, he's really good. I mean, offensively again, defensively again. One thing, too, is, like, you know, Koitsukai is more popular, especially because of King Piccolo, but it also does hit decks like Mecha Frieza and decks like this. So we're playing, you know, technically one less card that loses to Koitsukai, and we made some concessions in the main to kind of play around Koitsukai just a little bit.
It's a great card, though.
Yeah, card's incredible, for sure. This is a new card here. So this is a really, really new card of the deck that I kind of found when I was scouring through the card database. SS Rose, Goku Black, Divine Prosperity. Really long name.
Only negate in the deck.
Yes, this is the only negate in the deck. Once again, I mentioned like Nimbus. I really don't like it. I don't want to pitch cards to floodgate my opponent. Nimbus does not help in the bad matchup. The bad matchup being Dark Broly, Nimbus just doesn't really do much. And in the good matchups, you don't want a Nimbus. You want to go to the combo step and you want to do a whole bunch of really crazy stuff. So with Goku Black, you negate and you have a few things you can do. I was editing this part out. Yo, Mike. Snoring's a little loud, bro. It's all good.
We're keeping that in there.
It's all good, bro.
We're keeping that part in there.
So all right, so yeah, the Rose Goku Black, you have a few things you can do with him. So you can negate with him, and he's basically Dimension Magic. Otherwise, the main thing with this for Dark Broly was to negate and put the Heartfelt Plea in their energy. That in testing was a pretty game-winning play. Because it would turn off all their super combos. So the problem with Dark Broly is, one, you know, your combos and stuff, they really, you know, you have to kind of neg to defend 30Ks, as we're like 15s and 20s, you defend much easier. But the other thing is, you know, when you're trying to go for game on them, they have just a ridiculously big hand. So if you play this, put the plea in their energy, and you know, turn off their super combos, that's so much less combo power you have to deal with trying to kill them. That situation did not come up. I did play against one Dark Broly, it didn't go so well. But that was what was there for. But also, just like the Dimension Magic part of it was really, really good. One Cooler, I don't know why this yellow card's not with the rest of the yellow cards. Thank you, Danny, for sorting the deck. But Cooler is broken. We'll talk more about that later. All right, here's a new card for the deck. We have Goku Black Unforeseen Darkness. So shout out to Trey for this one. He recommended it. This has been a blue-yellow staple, more so when blue-yellow like came out. But this is one of the new changes we tried. It's not really like a tech for any particular matchup. It's just really nice on turn 2. To play this, you know, go through your deck, you're looking for the Bojack, you're looking for the combo card, you untap the energy, you play this on turn 2, it sets you up perfectly to Bojack.
Yep.
They attack you, you combo blue yellow, Zamasu, whatever, play Bojack, Aegis, there's your 2 energy open, it's really, really good.
It's weird when you have 2 energy open and you go into Bojack, because you want to Aegis right after.
Exactly, you want Aegis right after, so this is a really efficient way.
It's good.
And only 3 of this, like, yeah, it's not super consistent, but I actually saw it a lot of turn 2s, and you have a decent amount of time to draw.
That's why Beerus is so important, too.
Exactly. 3 Vegeta Unison, this is still the win condition of the deck. You really want to resolve the -3. I use the -3 way, way more than I use the -1, but there are matchups, like I played against the new Sin aggro deck, that's catching a lot of popularity. It's got some use against Dark Broly, although this alone, as weird as it sounds, is not going to save you from Dark Broly, so... but it still does have its applications for sure.
It's an insane unison, defensively and offense.
Yes, so we have 1 Seaguar ID, that hasn't changed. We have 2 Poutine and then 1 Kai SCR. So again, 51 cards. If you don't have this card, you could cut it. It is very, very good, but not essential. There are just some scenarios where and you can't even say your opponent's misplaying because they got to play around Nimbus, they got to attack with battle cards, and I don't play Nimbus, so that's kind of like a mind game the deck has in and of itself. But they do that, you do this, you punish them, you make their opponent, their leader, unable to attack. And Reboot Gohan's actually really popular this tournament too, so this card good against that deck as well. We've got 4 Sensu Beans. Another new change to the deck. In the main, we have 2 Giant Balls. This card is essentially another negate, but it draws a card. Like, again, when we're not playing a Floodgate negate like Nimbus, Giant Ball is almost just as good as a negate, and it's actually also really good against, like, you know, dual attacking things that they don't even get the first chance to attack. So you negate with that. It's really, really good. And one final flash in the main. I felt like, you know, a lot of times against decks like this, like yellow or blue yellow, your opponent is gonna respect the final flash and not dump unless they know they have game, especially like the higher tiers of play. But I felt like if I wasn't playing it, and my opponent wasn't respecting it, I can get blown out. So I wanted to include it in the main. It has usage against launch, like, you know, negating Piccolo Jr. It's just a really, really good card. I'm very happy I main decked it. It's very, very good. All right, we'll go to the side deck. We've got the one Seaguard Anti-Mass Sand, or a second copy, I should say. Comes in against random things like Vegex, like King Piccolo, just things you really want to remove their board when they're kind of playing low energy value cards that are lower to the ground. Then we've got 3 copies of Release from Evil. This gone up from 2 to 3 copies now. 1, because I'm actually pretty afraid of Reboot Gohan. Again, like, we're playing yellow, we're playing some Monster Super Combo, so we have like ways to deal with Reboot Gohan, right? But this is just, you know, to be extra safe, because last time I played Reboot Gohan in Top Cut, and I didn't draw this. Luckily, I still won, but I wanted to draw it. Also, quite good against Dark Broly, because when they, on their Awaken turn, they want to attack with their leader and then flip, because they get an extra draw that way. So you release some evil, you negate their leader skills so they can't flip that turn, and that gives you a decent shot to put a lot of pressure on them the following turn. We're actually sideboarding 2 more coolers. I don't think you'll see a lot of yellow decks that do this. The main reason I did it is because I wanted to have the edge against Blue Baby. Blue Baby definitely seemed like it was going to be a popular pick going into the weekend, so we bring these in against them in particular. And any other random like control decks, like possibly Invoker as well. If you really just need that game shot, it can come in against that. We have the 3rd Giant Ball. This would come in against Dark Broly or any other deck where I kind of just need like a Crusher Ball type of thing. Particularly Launch too, like dropping this against Piccolo Jr. Assimilated, not assimilated ability, Piccolo Jr. Eradicator of Peace. This guy, you want to put that thing in rest mode so he can't Alliance. We got 2 Max Power Kamehameha. This is a new card in the sideboard that I actually did like. Good against Shenron, good against
Dark Broly.
Kind of Dark Broly. You can warp their Gravy. I did bring it against Dark Broly if I saw they were kind of leaning into Gravy more. But just having the high cost removal is really good, because again, one of the yellow's biggest problems, don't really have removal. So we have like Secret ID for small stuff. We have Max Power for bigger stuff. Fooly Dark Banisher. Basically our way to end the game against control decks like Blue Baby, as long as, you know, we've somewhat managed to deal with their Unison, or we kind of have the read, they don't really have the Trunks. But mostly for Dark Broly, once again, Dark Broly being a really, really tough matchup. But even like against Sin, if they don't have the 9-drop on board, this is really good. So there's a lot of applications for this card as a win con. The second, Vegeta's Final Flash, brought in against things like Launch, brought in against the Mecha Frieza matchup where they have Bojack. And that matchup is so crazy because there's so much interaction. So Final Flash in their Bojack, or them Final Flashing your Bojack, it just gets really, really nuts. Then we've got 2 Goku Absolute Annihilation. So this came in against Mecha, came in against Blue Baby, comes in against Invoker. It's a really strong card. It's almost like a Silver Bullet, but only yellow can play it, and it makes sense because yellow is kind of that control-y type of color. This card has put in a lot of work. But actually enough, you know, I played it against Jonathan in top 8, and he paid the extra thing to Vegeta Final Flash it. And actually, so did Amani in Swiss too. Like, they actually, you know, are able to do that because they can take the light to do it. Unfortunately, in this deck, we can't really do that, but that's okay. Then we have 2 copies of Akikabora Plotting Revival. So the one thing I really wanted to do with this tournament was like really solidify the side deck. I remember last time in Connecticut, there were many cards on the side I didn't really find usage in, and that's one thing I'm trying to do as a player too, is just like really solidify my sideboard game and use that as a way to win more games. This card, I brought it in several times, never actually casted it. I think it would have been more useful against King Piccolo because you can really drag out the game against them, and eventually they just get to a point where they can't do anything to you. But I didn't play against King Piccolo, so I think it would have been good for that. Possibly would have been okay against Launch, but I brought it against Mecha. Probably wasn't a great idea because in reality, I don't want to tap 4 for anything against Mecha. That's one of the things I kind of learned over the weekend. But I do think it has some application on the side, but needs more testing. But so that's the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm really happy to say I could take this, you know, quote-unquote rogue deck to a top placing in Miami.
It's not rogue.
It's not rogue. This is meta.
Yeah.
Is there an official this is meta? I don't know.
Gotta be done.
Is it meta?
Gotta be, bro. The blue vein Parasites has gotta be.
All right, well, that's Deck Profile, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, more content coming all the time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in all the time. I really do appreciate all the supporters. I couldn't do any of this without you guys. And shout out to my team for sure. Shout out to Crossworld. Shout out to MRG.
Sleepy World.
Shout out to Sleepy World. Shout out to PPG for hosting an awesome tournament, man. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.